Thank you, Chief Secretary, Dr. Martin Rushwaya, members of the 4th Estate. Today, the 8th of April 2025, His Excellency the President, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, chaired the 9th Cabinet meeting, and the following issues, among others, were considered and approved. Cabinet considered and approved the implementation of the Presidential Internet Program Scheme in accordance with the provisions of the thematic area on digital economy in terms of the National Development Strategy 1. The Presidential Internet Scheme aims to provide reliable broadband internet connectivity targeting all the 2,400 administrative wards across the nation. This initiative will employ advanced low Earth orbit satellite technology and fiber optic infrastructure to ensure comprehensive coverage and accessibility. These will cover community information centers, the Zimbabwe Republic police stations, health institutions, traditional leaders' homesteads, agricultural extension offices, courts, district development coordinators' offices, vocational training centers, and growth points in the wards. The program will target to connect the unconnected by focusing on the areas and the sites that are situated in the remote parts of the country and are currently not connected. The project is expected to start in June 2025 and will run until 2030, with continuous review taking place due to the ever-changing technology landscape. The Presidential Internet Program Scheme will bring out the following outcomes in terms of rural communities: enhanced broadband connectivity, improved access to digital services, increased information communication technology utilization, improved financial inclusion, increased digital literacy, improved digital economic growth, increased transparency, effectiveness and efficiency in governance services. And this is part of the National Broadband Plan and the Smart Zimbabwe Master Plan. Cabinet received an update report in terms of the Youth Service in Zimbabwe training program. The Youth Service in Zimbabwe program that was launched by His Excellency the President, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, in May 2024 is already harnessing positive dividends on the youth demographic group. The first two groups, numbering 1,077 who graduated from the 6 months training program, are already earmarked for employment at state-funded higher and tertiary education institutions, the Public Service Commission, Uniformed Forces, state-owned enterprises, including special programs such as the Presidential Solarization Program, the Emergency Road Rehabilitation Program, and the Presidential Bore Drilling Scheme. Other graduates are already enrolling for further skills upgrading at various vocational training centers across the country. The government of Zimbabwe has already made it mandatory that vocational certificates will be prioritized for accessing empowerment loans and entrepreneurial startups from the Empowerment Bank. Cabinet received an update on the state of preparedness for the 2025 Zimbabwe International Trade Fair. The 65th edition of the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair is scheduled for the 21st to the 26th of April 2025 and will be held under the theme Industrialization, Crafting an Integrated Landscape. A key highlight is the extension of the event to 6 days. The President of the Republic of Mozambique, His Excellency Daniel Chapo, will officially open the 65th edition of the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair on the 25th of April 2025. The Ministry of Industry and Commerce is conducting strategic dialogues with national business organizations and industry associations to maximize private sector participation and input. As part of the preparations for the event, Air Zimbabwe and FastJet were engaged with the aim to increase flight frequency for exhibitors and visitors, and also in order to ensure a positive customer experience. As at 7 April 2025, 596 direct exhibitors had registered to participate, compared to 428 who had registered during the same period in 2024. Of these, 98 are exhibiting for the first time. In terms of current space booking situation, 95% has been booked to date, compared to 87% booked during the same period in 2024. International exhibitor space uptake is increased, with 29 countries having registered. These include Afghanistan, Angola, Austria, Belarus, Botswana, Brazil, Canada, China, the European Union delegation, Egypt, Ethiopia, France, Germany, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Kenya, Malawi, Mozambique, Netherlands, Pakistan, Rwanda, South Africa, Sweden, Tanzania, the United Kingdom and the United States of America, the United Arab Emirates and the Republic of Zambia. This surpasses 27 participating nations as at 2024. Additionally, India will also be participating. Some of the events that will take place during the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair include the International Business Community, the Connect Africa Symposium, the Original Equipment Manufacturers Platform, among others. There will also be the Rural Industrialization Endeavor. Cabinet also received 100-day cycle reports in terms of the infrastructure development thematic area in terms of the National Development Strategy 1. The Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare highlighted the following achievements: the rehabilitation of Dzivarasekwa Pump Station, the pumping gravity mains and treated water reservoir repairs in Harare has been finalized. The disposal of housing units numbering more than 100 in Glaudiana and Borodale is ongoing. The final finishings and external works for the Glaudiana Flats project phase 1 are almost complete, and commissioning of the project is expected to be done by the end of May 2025. Preparations for the servicing of 616 residential stands in Runyararo, Masvingo province have been completed. The project site works for the servicing of 124 residential stands in Plumtree, Matabeleland South province has begun. The construction of the Rishavane mixed accommodation phase 2 in the Midlands province is progressing well, with 156 residential units ready to be commissioned. The Zimo hydropower project at Lake Mutirikwi in Masvingo province has been completed and awaits commissioning. Civil works have been completed at Rupurara Valley Lodge and now awaits commissioning. The Tokwe Mkosi hydropower project in Masvingo province is ongoing. The Marondera Commercial Center warehouse construction in Mashonaland East province is ongoing. The new Glovers project in terms of solar at Munyati in Midlands province is ongoing. Brickwork and construction of columns at Madokero Creek Phase 2 housing is ongoing, and the paving work in terms of the parking bays in Harare Metropolitan Province is almost complete. The refurbishment of the children's dormitory and administration block at Upenyu Ultra Residential Care Facility is almost complete. On social protection thematic area, the potato production project in Umguza, Matebeleland province and the rabbit production project in Shamba, Mashonaland Central province is also progressing well. Under the infrastructure and utilities pillar in terms of the National Development Strategy 1, the Minister of Transport and Infrastructural Development highlighted the following achievements under his purview. The construction of the Trabablas interchange exceeded cycle target and is ongoing, with 2 bridges at Amalinda Road and Harare Drive being the missing links having been completed and opened to the traffic. The upgrading of the Harare Masvingo Bight Bridge Road and the Harare Kanyemba Road is ongoing. The construction of the Traffic Safety Council of Zimbabwe offices in Masvingo province is on target. The upgrading of the Chipinge Mount Selinda Road and Shurugwi Mandamawe Road fencing project is also underway. In terms of the governance pillar, in terms of the National Development Strategy 1, the Minister of Home Affairs and Cultural Heritage highlighted the following achievements under his purview. The installation of solar systems at registry offices across 7 provinces, namely Harare Metropolitan, Mashonaland Central, Mashonaland East, Manicaland, Masvingo, Matebeleland North, and Matebeleland South is ongoing. The revamping of telecommunication systems for 50 police stations is at 90% in terms of completion, whilst the deployment of the online border management system at all borders and airports and basic automation of 23 police stations are also ongoing. The following projects are also ongoing under the Youth, Sports and Culture pillar in terms of the NDS 1. The digitization of reports in Mwenezi and Chiredzi district, Masvingo province is going on well, and the construction of the Herbert Chitepo Trust Training Center at Bonda Mission in Mtasa district in Manicaland province and the Skombela Monument Development Project in Gokwe, North Midlands province are also progressing well. The following projects have been undertaken under the infrastructure and utilities pillar in terms of Vision 2030. The renovation of the Mswenede Clinic and the construction of a semi-detached staff house at Mswenede area in Mazoe district in Mashonaland Central province is nearing completion, while the construction of classroom block at Kundai High School in Concession Mazoe district, Mashonaland Central province is ongoing. Cabinet also deliberated on the following. Under the legislative program, Cabinet considered and approved the Zimbabwe School Examination Amendment Bill, the decision to amend the Zimbabwe School Examination Council Act, Chapter 25.18, seeks to address challenges obtaining in the education sector, in particular the examination leakages, registration anomalies, and fraudulent practices at some examination centers countrywide. The Zimbabwe Schools Examination Amendment Bill of 2024 therefore has inter alia the following objectives: streamlining board functions to provide for the deregistration of non-compliant examination centers, strengthening of the operational efficiency of the board, and reviewing of penalties for examination malpractices. More critically, the bill eliminates leakages across all examination centers in terms of modality. Cabinet considered and approved the MOU between the Republic of Zimbabwe and the Republic of Algeria on cooperation in the field of technical and vocational education and training. The MOU seeks to promote cooperation in the fields of technical and vocational education, skills development through student and staff exchange programs, as well as research and technology transfer, among other activities. Cabinet considered and approved an MOU between the Republic of Zimbabwe and the International Solar Alliance for the establishment of a solar technology application resource center in Zimbabwe. The objective of the memorandum is to provide for the establishment of the Solar Technology Application Resource Center at Chinhoyi University in Zimbabwe. The university's innovation hub shall deliver expertise to Zimbabwe and act as a one-stop center for capacity building, testing, standardization, and incubation. The STAR Center will be expected to champion education and awareness programs and facilitate the adoption of renewable energy technologies, thereby contributing to the country's transition from fossil fuels to sustainable and clean energy sources. Cabinet also approved the Memorandum of Understanding between the Republic of Zimbabwe through the Presidential and National Scholarships Department and a foundation of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela in terms of a scholarship provision. The cooperation framework is to provide 50 Zimbabwean students with scholarships. 40 of the scholarships are in the field in terms of the various university courses all taught in the country, the Venezuela Republic. I thank you.
Yes, he asked about the national backbone, what efforts are being done, and also to look at ways that we have done, especially in terms of electricity. I totally agree to what you said, but on this program, we are partnering with the Presidential Solarization Scheme to just make sure we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We realize that there have been efforts which have been put to connect our rural areas on solar, so we will also capitalize on that. Secondly, you know, Starlink doesn't consume a lot of electricity. So even for us to have a deliberate move on even installing solar, we are also going to consider that in areas where the presidential solarization scheme would not have reached. And there were questions around saying which one is our primary connectivity plan as government. We still insist on fiber as a government, and we are just connecting the low Earth orbit satellites where there is no connectivity. The presidential internet scheme is meant to bridge the digital divide, especially considering that we have got the rural areas and the urban areas. We realize that especially in the rural areas, we have been very much limited considering the current infrastructure that we're using. So I would like to say we are going to deploy solar, and at the same time, we want to just make sure that we have connectivity in areas where there is no connectivity, especially the rural areas. The second question was from Messi, and then she said, do you have private sector involvement? Definitely, that's a yes. Our government, led by His Excellency Dr. Idi Mnangagwa, has been very clear on private-led development. And as the Minister of ICT, being an economic enabler, we are not spared. We believe so much in private player involvement, and to the extent that within the whole plan, this is the first phase where we are going to look at connecting all the 2,400 wards. But it's a matter of us then engaging all our telco players and at least assigning them to some certain areas where we really feel there hasn't been very much connectivity. And you realize that on the low Earth orbit satellites, we have got players which are mainly from the private sector. So we believe that there is need for us to continuously engage, share the plan to them, and definitely they are on board from the onset. The last question was from Shamaida Murwira, and he spoke about how can we really reduce the cost. Yesterday we had meetings with SpaceX, which is one of the providers of the low Earth orbit satellites, and that's Starlink. We had conversations on how we can reduce the premiums, and we agreed on a figure that we're going to disclose very soon, and it's quite lower than what we were being offered now. So we need to conclude on all the documentation so that we can then publicize that. But it's very it's quite low, and we are happy that that is an initiative that we think will assist us in making the rates affordable. Secondly, because we're not only looking at Starlink, we are looking again at fiber connections. So on that, we have engaged our telco players. I'm sure you can all allude to what I'm saying, that now our prices, we have got unlimited data packages which have been introduced in the last 3 months. And these are from our various telco players, and we still need to continuously engage so that our price of data will definitely be able to be accessible to everyone. And again, we are going to come up with Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi zones that we're going to institute, especially in our rural areas, using our community information centers, soon to be called digital centers. So they definitely there will be access to free Wi-Fi, and more efforts are still being done for us to really work towards our price of data. But I'm sure you all agree that the price of data has relatively gone down from what it was, maybe speaking of 1 year ago. Now at least we are engaging for us to continuously work towards a subsidized, or maybe not subsidized alone, but at least a reasonable data for our citizens. And just to say again, another conversation we had again with SpaceX, that's on the low Earth orbit satellites, was on coming up with subsidized data. And all we need to do is to identify how many people would want to access that, and then we go and negotiate after looking at the numbers. It's business, so for them, they've said when the numbers are more, we'll definitely be able to consider reviewing our price quite minimum. I so submit. Thank you.
Act was enacted in 1999, and it's normal practice to review so that we come up with new provisions that are in line with international norms and practices. And it should be noted that pertaining to leakages, yes, we have had leakages, especially in 2022, where we had more than 5 examination question papers that leaked, especially at advanced, at ordinary level. And to address this mischief, that explains why we had to come up with this new bill. And how are we going to deal decisively with the mischief? We are going to, according to Section 141 of the Constitution, the general public would decide as they make submissions to the bill. They would decide on the penalties. But what we are proffering as a solution is an issue of imprisonment to those culprits who are practicing this malpractice. And in my own view, we are likely to come up with penalties, for leaking, for leakage of one paper, one might be imprisoned for a period that exceeds 9 years, so that it becomes a deterrent measure to those who may want to practice that criminal act. Another measure is through deregistration of the examination center. So we are going to penalize those schools, whether registered or not, but in the majority of cases, unregistered centers who are not granted the examination centers. So we are going to deal decisively by deregistering those centers. In another way of leakage or another malpractice is the issue of impersonation, where somebody would masquerade as a bona fide candidate, writing an examination for another person. And those that will be caught will also face the same music, to go to jail. But I'm happy, Honorable Chair, that for the past 2 years, in 2023 and 2024, we never experienced any leakages. But this is a progressive bill which is designed to bring issues of compliance, good governance in the education sector. I thank you, Honorable Chair.